Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this year's 2025 Gravel Day orientation. We are going to give it just a couple more minutes before we get started to make sure all of our friends that registered have a couple minutes to jump on the call. All right. It looks like most people have joined. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Before we do, and while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to introduce ourselves because I always forget to do this. I'm Carolyn Applehans from the Pelotania team. With me is Lauren Graham. Then we have a special guest, Samuel, who we'll introduce in a little bit as well to talk through some trail run hike specifics. But we can't wait to see everybody in just a couple of weeks down in Snow Fork in Nelsonville, Ohio for this year's Gravel Day. We have doubled the event from a participant standpoint from last year. I think in large part due to the new trail run hike, which our team went out, was it last week now? And did a walkthrough of the entire course. And we have pictures to share from it, but it's gorgeous. You guys are going to have such a great time and we can't wait to celebrate with you guys soon. Just a highlight of everything that we're going to walk through today. So we'll help you prepare for Gravel Day, whether if you're cycling, doing the trail run hike, maybe you're doing both. We'll make sure you feel well equipped. What arrival and check-in will look like, what your credential and bike plate and your runner bib will look like. And we'll go through the start of both the ride and the trail run, what it's going to look like out on the course from you from both event perspectives, and then everyone's favorite, the finish line celebration, go through some fundraising 101, and then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. This presentation or this meeting, if you didn't see, is being recorded. So don't worry about taking notes. We will send you the recording of the presentation. We'll send you the presentation itself. And there's some really helpful links at the end of it too. So all information will be sent out to you. We ask that you stay muted throughout the presentation. We will have time again at the end for Q&A. If you have questions as we go, feel free to put it in that Q&A box if you don't want to come unmuted at the end, or if you don't want to forget your question, and we will go through all of that at the end as well. But with that, I'm going to kick it over to my colleague Lauren, and she'll get us started.
Awesome. So hopefully everybody has already been preparing for Gravel Day, whether that's training on your bike, training on the trails, getting out there, getting some miles in before Gravel Day. But we want to talk about just a few things to keep in mind over the next 2 weeks as we kind of get into the final countdown. Obviously, hydration and fueling. So this happens more than just day of, as I'm sure most of you know. It's been crazy with how hot it's been. We were hoping for cooler temperatures the first weekend in October, but time will tell. With that in mind, obviously staying hydrated is so important, whether you're cycling or running or hiking. So drink up before, during, and after your ride and run hike. Make sure that night before you're drinking plenty of water. If you're doing a longer route, a more strenuous activity, be sure you're getting some electrolytes, all that good stuff. Being prepared for hopefully a beautiful sunny day, even if it is cooler. Be sure you're wearing your SPF, protecting your skin. Carolyn mentioned we went out last week and checked out the trail run hike course, and it was awesome. It's very shaded. I still got a little sunburn. So just a reminder that even if you're in the shade and under the tree cover, that sun still gets to you. So be sure you're ready with SPF for Gravel Day. Pacing yourself. This is important in any route, any event that you're participating in during Gravel Day. Just pace yourself to what's comfortable for you. Don't push yourself too hard. Remember, it's a ride, it's a run, it's a hike. It's not a race in any of these instances. So just keep that in mind. Taking breaks. So all of our courses, whether running, hiking, or riding, do have rest stops along the way. So take advantage of those, hang out for a little bit, take a break, get some fuel, cool down, all of those good things. Just be sure you're taking those breaks. We always recommend that you dress in light colored and lightweight clothing. Again, if we happen to get a 60-degree fall day, that might change a little bit, but based on what it's looking like right now, that lightweight clothing obviously can help you stay cool throughout the day as well. And then knowing the risks, if you start to feel off, if you start to feel like you are overheating, you may need some help. We have first aid and EMS support across our routes at all of our venues and rest stops. So just familiarize yourself with that. Obviously, you know yourself and how you feel better than anyone. So don't be afraid to take advantage of those resources that we have available. All right, running, riding, and hiking safe. We've got to get used to that rolling off the tongue a little bit more. We're used to saying riding, so we're adding in all these extra words, but we're so excited to be able to do that. So just being aware. Be aware of what's around you. From a cycling perspective, this means other cyclists, this means cars. Obviously, we are a rules of the road ride, and so that means roads are open to vehicular traffic. One of the beautiful things about Gravel Day is obviously it is a much less vehicle traffic on a lot of the roads that we're on, so it makes it a little easier. But being aware of what's happening around you is so important. From a run and hike perspective, it's really important to, again, be aware of what's around you, more from roots on the ground, logs that you may have to step over, all those kind of things, just being aware of what's happening around you to stay safe. Being predictable, so calling out if you are passing someone, again, this applies to all three if you're riding, running, or hiking, just helping other people know what you're going to do so that you can be predictable, they can stay safe around you as well. Being visible is really important. So again, we talk about wearing light colored, reflective clothing. Very important on the open road cycling courses, but also important, you know, for your fellow runners and hikers around you as well. And being prepared. So if you, if you're on a bike, having the supplies you need, if you have a flat tire, being able to fix that yourself. We have tons of resources that we'll talk about in a little bit out there on the course, but if you're prepared to kind of help yourself along in some of those situations, you'll go back on the road quicker. Being prepared also means, having water with you, having fuel with you. Like I mentioned, we will have rest stops along the way, but having anything with you that you may need in those in-between times, you may have, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles if you're on a bike and a mile and a half to 2 miles if you're on the run hike course that you won't have a rest stop. So having things with you, being prepared in that way as well. Rider safety reminders. So again, I mentioned rules of the road ride. So roadways are open if you are riding your bike out there. Just something to be aware of. We do have awesome law enforcement support down there that really helps us keep everybody safe. But there may be intersections where we don't have law enforcement. And so you are responsible to obey all traffic signals and laws, just like you would be if you were riding on your own, if you're driving your car, all those kind of things. Be aware of what's happening around you, obeying all those signals and laws. Don't ride across the entire width of the roadway. We say don't ride left of center. That can be, a little tricky to figure out exactly where center is on some of these roads because a lot of them don't have the center line painted, but just be aware that we cannot be taking up the entire width of the roadway. You may still encounter vehicle traffic trying to get through as well. And then I mentioned kind of using verbal signals, use your hand signals as well. Keep everybody safe around you. And this goes along with that kind of pointer of just being predictable so that people know kind of what movements you're making, where you're going.
Awesome. And now for some more riding specifics for Gravel Day. How exactly to ride Gravel Day? I know there's a lot of people that are returning from maybe their second or third gravel experience on the bike. Maybe it's your first time. So these are some really great tips and tricks as you're getting comfortable with gravel riding. First and foremost, relax and be smooth. As Lauren mentioned, the terrains can be different. They can really vary. Some of them can be bumpier than other ones. So being loose helps your body kind of absorb that. If you're too tight, it might kind of zap your energy a little bit more than it might on the road riding. So just loosen up to kind of absorb those bumps and really try to be smooth and you're pedaling, you're braking, turn smooth, try not to slam on the brakes too quickly. And that's where also being really vocal with those around you comes into play and it can be really, really helpful to make sure you can avoid any kind of interactions of that kind. Choosing a line, you will find that there's going to be a lot of lines out there on the road. You can kind of see it in that picture there. They've definitely chosen a line that was made by, it looks like a car because it's a pretty big tire. And that is really helpful when you're riding on gravel as well. Cornering, decentering, make sure you lower your center of gravity and keep your chest really low and your heels dropped. Again, that helps just absorb against that different diverse terrain and helps make sure you're riding really smoothly. We've mentioned this braking, just make sure you engage your brakes smoothly to avoid them locking up. And then plan to fall into those existing tracks. And just like ride weekend, ride no rider wider than 2 bikes across, and really be conscious of that downhill speed. Down in Nelsonville, it's a bit more hillier than it is here in central Ohio. So while the going uphill can be challenging and rewarding, the downhill can be really fast. So just make sure you're watching that speed and taking those really cautiously as you go down. I know there's some speed demons out there, so just be careful as you're riding, especially as you're riding around others too. And then some essentials for riders, water bottles. Those are obviously so important. The minimum tire width that is recommended for gravel day is 35 millimeters. So a little bit wider than ride weekend. Again, helps you absorb that diverse terrain, helps you ride really smoothly. Gravel day, or gravel cycling, I should say, given the popularity and the growth in gravel cycling, a lot of bikes are now being built to be able to adapt the tire width pretty easily. So if you have a newer bike, maybe the tire width on it isn't 35 millimeters, highly recommend going to your local bike shop, checking out and seeing if you can switch out those tires pretty easily. Again, a lot of newer bikes are being equipped to be able to participate in both types of cycling. Tubes, spare tubes, COT cartridge, a patch kit, obviously a given for ride weekend, tubeless types 2. Again, check in with your local bike shop to see if you maybe need new things and they can help you find whatever is best for your bike as well. Definitely recommend a tire lever, a multi-tool Allen wrench, and then obviously your climbing legs. Mentioned gravel day is more hilly. You will be doing a bit more climbing than you would in ride weekend, but again, definitely a rewarding experience. And then just hopefully this slide's been giving us issues. So I'm going to have Lauren hit ahead for me. But just some continued resources that are needed. We don't know why this slide is being so funky. I'll just brief pause. There we go. No, I went too far.
There we go.
Perfect.
Okay.
So just some additional things that we recommend for riders. Obviously, a bike light. When you get there, it will more than likely be pretty dark, just given that it's October time frame. Every morning, I feel like it's darker out later. It's harder to get out of the bed, admittedly. So it will be a little bit darker out there when you go to start your ride. Bike lights are definitely recommended. Past couple of years, we've also experienced a lot of fog in the morning. It lifts really quickly, but would definitely recommend bike lights for that. We will have breakfast, which we'll talk about. So definitely have nutrition before your ride, but bring some with you. We have rest stops that we'll also talk about. But if there's specific things that you may have been training with, highly recommend that you bring those with you. We try to keep a really vast supply to meet everybody's needs. But if you're using something really specific, we always recommend you bring that with you. Sunscreen, UV rays, don't care if it's fall or summer. Make sure you have that. Always have a helmet. Sunglasses are always helpful. And then cell and battery. I will say down in Nelsonville, Hocking Hills area, cell service is always a little bit trickier than it is here in Columbus. That can kill your battery really quickly too. So always recommend having your cell phone with you and always having a battery pack, especially just when riding down there because your phone might be constantly trying to find different cellular towers and might be killing your battery a little bit quicker than it would here. All right, Lauren mentioned this. Getting used to saying trail run hike and runners and hikers is new for us. And when we launched the trail run hike, we were like, we need to find an expert that can help us with this. We know cycling, we don't know running, we don't know hiking super well. And we were so lucky to be introduced to Samuel, who is our trail run hike specialist. And he's going to share a little bit more about, hopefully, we're just going to get rid of that clicker. He's going to share a little bit more about the trail run, preparing for that. He really was the mastermind behind the course and helping us bring to life.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate being called an expert in trail running and hiking. Definitely, I feel like I'm often more of an expert in hiking than I am running. I am so excited to be with Pelotonia this year. Good afternoon, everybody. And we have a really awesome course designed We all did it last week. It's approximately 3.5 miles. Your device might show a tenth of a mile longer or shorter. About 500 feet of vertical ascent and loss. Starts and finishes at the same spot. And for the really ambitious, you do have that option to attempt multiple loops. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about safety and then some gear that you probably definitely want to bring to the event. So when we talk about runner or hiker safety, so when we're talking about navigating this course, the beginning of the race is a fairly wide section. And so for people who are wanting to go a little bit faster, you'll be able to get towards the front and spread out. And people who want to hike or go to slower pace will sort of naturally filter to the middle or to the back. Once we get to the single track section, especially when you're on the Bailey's trail that we're using, we want to be in a single file as much as possible. And if you do have to pass, using that on your left language, same as with biking, is going to be important. As you guys were talking about the how to ride gravel, there's actually quite a few parallels there. So I love that, like, relax and be smooth. I think that's important, especially people coming from the world of road running. It is approximately a 5K, so 3.5 miles, a little bit longer. If you're anticipating your 5K time on the road being matched here, I would say for most people you will be possibly mistaken. I will be slower by nature of the vertical ascent and the technicality. It's not a super technical course, but you do need to be mindful of those obstacles. There's rocks, roots. We're going to do our best to get rid of the branches and anything that's laying there that we can move. But there's going to be some just natural obstacles, which is kind of what makes trail running and hiking so interesting. But that is naturally going to slow your pace. There's also a couple sections that are steep downhills that you'll want to be careful on as you descend, making sure you don't get too fast and out of control to where you fall or something. And just like gravel riding, choosing the right line, especially if you see a line that a lot of people have taken, the ground might be a little bit more worn there. So, that's going to be a little bit safer. If it is a really dry day, sometimes those worn lines can get a little bit slippery with the gravel and the dirt, sometimes even like sand-like quality. We have a slide later that shows some of the different surface types. So what we want is a little bit of moisture, not too wet, not too dry. But of course in Ohio, who knows what kind of weather we're going to get. So we got to be prepared for anything. Please don't leave the marked course. We'll talk about how we're going to mark the course in a little bit. If you do need to stop for some reason, tie your shoe or check something, or you're just taking a break, please be mindful of which direction the course is running in and try not to wander off into the woods, go down the wrong trail. We're going to have all that stuff really well marked. But for your safety, please don't leave the marked course. And lastly, just remember, this is a trail run. It's a hike. We want you to be out there and enjoy it. It's not a race. We're not scoring you or grading you on your time in any way. And really enjoy this time in the wilderness. I think that's been the most exciting thing, as I've been on the Snow Fork property and then also in Wayne National Forest using the Bailey's Trail. Even though we're really close to Nelsonville and close to Athens, it feels like you're in deep wilderness. And I hope that all of you who are doing the trail run and hike really get to have that experience, even if it's just for a few minutes. Let's go to the next slide, please. So here's some essentials for the gravel day trail run and hike. Definitely want to have trail running shoes. Now, a lot of people say, well, what does that mean? The main thing is you want to have a good tread on the shoes. One thing we talk about are lugs, which are the little pieces of rubber that stick off the bottom of the shoes. So you see some examples there. There's a bunch of good brands you can get at your favorite local running store. But shoes that are going to have good grip on mud, dirt, gravel, grass, again, a bunch of different surface types here. I would highly recommend trail running specific shoes for this event and not just a pair of road running shoes. Some people might want to bring a change of shoes. For example, if the shoes get really muddy or dirty, or they just want a backup pair in case they're not sure which one's going to be comfortable, or you just want a pair to change into after the trail run. If your feet are, again, muddy or sweaty or whatever, more comfortable pair of shoes. Change of socks is also really nice, especially for the people who are planning on doing multiple loops. It's a good idea to just have a backup pair just in case something goes wrong, you feel like you're getting a hot spot or a blister. Sometimes just changing a pair of socks is all it takes, then you feel good again. Highly recommend something to carry some water in, soft flask like depicted in the picture. can also carry a harder water bottle if you want, but something that's easy to carry on your person. There will be cups at the aid station. We have a rest stop just about halfway through the 3.5-mile course, but it's nice to be able to carry something so you can consume water or electrolyte drink whenever you want. And there's a number of ways to carry that with a vest or a belt, something like that. We'll talk a little bit more about the trail run and the hike specifically later on. But other than that, I'll turn it back over to Carolyn and Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks, Samuel. Yes, all really great stuff. And Samuel is very modest. He is an expert runner. He has run way more miles than I would guess most of us on this call, but we're very lucky to have him on the team. So
thank you.
We will kind of jump back from run, hike, ride day to Friday night. I want to talk about a little bit again, if we can get these darn slides to agree with us.
Technology.
That's tough. No. All right, I'm going to start talking and we'll see if we can get this going. And there we go, Friday night. So as some of you may know from last year, we added a Friday night gathering and the option to camp on site at Snow Fork last year. We are very excited about this. It was awesome last year. It's going to be even greater this year. So we invite everybody to come down and join us on Friday, October 3rd for our community gathering. Whether you're camping or not, if you're staying elsewhere in the area, feel free to come over and enjoy the community gathering. And then if your style is more sleep in a bed the night before, totally fine. We will gather at Snow Fork from 6 to 9 on Friday night. There is an RSVP link that we'll include when we send everything out after today's call. We do ask that everybody RSVPs by this Friday, just to give us a general number for food orders and that kind of thing. But the map here is also available on our website in some of the event handbooks, that kind of stuff, but shows really how to enter. So if you're coming on Friday night, you're going to come in that main entrance at Snow Fork Event Center. It's the one that your GPS will take you to if you just type Snow Fork in. There will be, personnel kind of around the venue as you enter, kind of helping you find the right way. But there's essentially a fork in the road. If you're camping, you're going to take that left fork and follow the direction of the parking attendants that way. If you are just parking for the evening, you'll take that right fork and again, just follow the guidance of the parking professionals that are out there that evening. The gathering is awesome. It's such a good vibe. It's such a good way to kick off the weekend. Again, it'll be 6 to 9 on that Friday evening. We'll have dinner. We'll have alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. It says fireside entertainment, but we're stepping it up a little bit. It's actually going to be staged entertainment at Snow Fork. Have some awesome local musicians coming out to should bless us with their talents that evening. We'll also have s'mores. We are hoping, for any of you who joined us last year, you may remember there was a burn ban in Athens County for Gravel Day weekend, so we couldn't have actual fires, but we're hoping we get a little bit of rain in the next couple of weeks and are able to do that this year. Camping. So camping reservations are still available again through this Friday. That's the same deadline as the RSVP for Friday evening celebration. So we have two options. You can rent a car tent camping site or an RV site. All of these sites are very primitive. So I do want to call out, if you're bringing an RV, we do not have access to electricity and water hookups. So again, very primitive, but we'd love for you to join us in this way. Campgrounds will open at 3 p.m. on Friday for check-in and for load-in and setup. So you got a few hours to kind of get yourself settled before the celebration starts. And then all sites must be cleared by 7 p.m. on Saturday. So some of you may remember we did offer camping for Saturday night as well last year. We did not have a huge interest in that. So we are only doing camping on Friday night. And just keep in mind that you'll need to clear your campsite by 7 p.m. on Saturday. I believe I'm throwing it back to Carolyn here to talk about arrival and check-ins.
Awesome. So the beautiful thing about Gravel Day is that you start and finish at the same location. So helps logistically make it a little bit easier for everybody as well. But a few key things to know before you start your ride or your trail run hike on Saturday. Obviously, the event location is Snow Fork. That will be the event location for everybody all weekend, which is amazing. There is really great on-site parking for everybody for the duration of the day. If you are camping, obviously you would leave your car overnight with us as well and just walk on over to the start. But we will have in a slide, show you a map of that. No parking pass is required. A little bit different from Ride Weekend, but this event space is really utilized just by our community that day. So no parking pass is required at all. And then arrival time. So all riders, runners, and hikers should plan to arrive at Snow Fork at least 1 hour before their schedule starts. An important thing to note is that the main entrance will also be used for cyclists to leave. So we will be closing down the entrance to vehicle traffic after 8:15 a.m. for riders to start their routes. We'll reopen that obviously once all the riders are out, but just a really important thing to note if you're coming a little bit later for the trail run hike start at 10 a.m. And riders should be there. We have specific start times for all riders based off of your start time, but riders should get there at least an hour beforehand to make sure that they have plenty of time to park and get in. If you have loved ones coming to see you start, a very important time to note because we won't let them in just to make sure it's a really safe start for everybody as well. I mentioned the parking map. Looks very similar to the Friday parking map that Lauren mentioned, but everybody will actually go on Saturday. You made a face like it was wrong, so I got nervous. Everyone will go to that right of the fork and go to that guest parking. We'll have 3 different locations for parking. As I mentioned, we have grown the event tremendously this year, so there will be 3 different sites. We will have people on site to help direct you, just as we did on Friday. And then those red lines, that's going to be where the bicycles are coming in and out of. So again, important to just keep that aware when you're coming in. Probably more so important for those that are doing the trail run hike only if you're coming a little bit later, and more importantly for spectators coming too, to be mindful of cyclists coming in and out of the venue as well. And then the day of schedule. So 7 a.m., the venue will officially open with check-in and breakfast. And then the rider schedule. So we have the riders going out into different starting times. So the 48-mile riders will go out first at 8:30 a.m. The 25-mile riders will then go out at 9 a.m. And then the 11-mile riders will go out at 9:30 a.m. A little bit different than years past. And this is largely due to, if you have ridden in the past, you probably remember there's a pretty significant climb about a mile in, which can kind of slow down the group since it is such a significant climb. So we are staggering riders with that in mind to make sure that everybody can get up that first initial climb in a really safe manner, make sure it's not bottleneck, and segmenting the groups out in this way really helps us to do so. So we ask that you start with your time. We'll start to call riders in 15 minutes before their wave time. And this will also be listed on the credential that we'll talk about as well. The official start time for the trail run hike will be 10 a.m. That will be the official mass start time. You can see it does close off at 2:30 p.m. So trail run hike participants can start their run anytime between 10 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. We won't let anybody out onto the course after 2:30 p.m. So your very last lap has to be started by 2:30. And then you can finish obviously in whatever amount of time that it takes you, but we will close off the starting line after 2:30 p.m. Breakfast will close at 10 a.m. Finish line celebration will then quickly begin at 10:30 a.m. for those that might be finishing quickly. And then everything will kind of close up at 6 p.m. as well. If you are doing both events, we will require that you do the cycling portion first and then go complete the trail run hike, just given how the course maps and course support is scheduled and from a timing perspective, specifically for cyclists. So just important to note that if you are registered for both, you must do the cycling portion first. You can get off the bike, take a break if you need it, and then go on to the trail run hike too. If you're interested in adding that on, an easy thing to add on to beforehand, you can email us if you decide you want to do both events, or day of, we can get you set up for the trail run hike as well. And then just to show you the rider staging, we kind of showed this on the first map. I will tell you, maps confuse me. So looking at this, it seems really confusing. On site, it will be very clear with a ton of signage, but the chute will be set up just like it was last year in the same location. You'll head down Sycamore Lane out of the venue onto the course. You will come back in the same exact way too. So we just essentially flip the chute once all the riders are out, and you will finish going down that same lane as well. And then for the runner hikers, it's going to be just a little bit down the way, closer to where the finish line celebration is. We will have everybody, again, you can start together. You also are not required to start in that mass start. So if you want to start maybe 15 minutes behind and be a little bit more separated out, you have that option to do so. It is totally up to you. If you're riding, you just want to head to this area and get set up to go on your way on the trail run hike. You will notice that it kind of, again, another fork in the road. There is one to the left and there's one to the right. If you decide you are done after a lap or 2 laps or 3 laps, you will want to stay to the left and you'll go through the finish line. If you want to continue with another lap, you will go to the right, and then you will go ahead and continue on for another lap as well. Again, we'll have plenty of staff and volunteers and signage to help you through there. We'll also have like a little first aid and hydration station right at that beginning too. So if you are going for multiple loops, you'll be able to have a place to refuel before the next go. All right, and now moving on to your credential, and a fun thing to say now, a bib for trail run hikers as well. So we'll just walk through this really quickly. For riders, your rider credential is going to look very similar to what you saw on Ride Weekend or you've previously seen as well. So a couple key highlights, that top part is going to be your rider ID bracelet. This is required to wear with you at all times during your ride, as well as there'll be a separate one for the trail run hike. I'll talk about what happens if you're doing both events, but as soon as you get your credential, go ahead and put that on. There is a guest wristband. This is not required to hand to your guest that might be joining you. You are also not only permitted one guest. If multiple family members, friends want to come, they are more than welcome to do so. So that piece is just kind of on there, but again, they're not required to wear that at the finish line celebration. You don't have to worry logistically about handing that off to them. There is a luggage tag. So if you want to bring a change of clothes and not just keep it in your car, if you want to bring it on site so you don't have to walk all the way back to your car, feel free to put this luggage tag onto your piece of luggage. And then you can leave that with volunteers and pick it up easily right at the end of your ride. And then the seat post tag. This will go on the post of your bike. This is a really great way to get people's names, talk to them as you're going, and another identificator on your bike as well. But really awesome to kind of call people out as you're riding, cheer them on, and start some conversations with fellow riders as well. And then specific to the riders as well is the bike plate. So this will go on the front of your bike as shown on the back side of the rider bike plate. But this is really specific for our rider tracking, which I'll talk about in a second here. This allows your loved ones to follow you along, to see you along your course, and give updates. On the flip side too, there are a lot of photographers out on the course and a finish line photographer as well. This helps you easily identify your photo, not just for cyclists, but for trail run hike participants as well. So the important thing to note is that it must be vertical and be on the front of your handlebars. There will be zip ties in your credential bag as well, so you don't have to worry about bringing your own. And again, tons of volunteers and staff on site who can help you make sure that this is correctly put on so it works as it should. And then for the trail run hikers, so this is something obviously new for us, is having a bib. This will be a part of the rider, see, we're doing it. I'm doing it. I just pulled you into that. Part of the check-in process, you will have a bib, and this will be attached to the front of your shirt or jacket, whatever you might be wanting to wear. You will also have a luggage tag, and then you'll also have a wristband too. So what is important if you are doing both events is you must have one of the wristbands on. You can put on the rider one, you can put on the trail run hiker one. It truly doesn't matter. You don't have to wear both if you don't want to. You can if you want to, but as long as one of your wristbands is on, you are good to go. And then for the bib, we will have safety pins that you can attach to the front. You will also have an RFID tag on the back, so you can be tracked. Your loved ones can see your progress. If you are doing both events, you are welcome to put the bib on before your ride as well. The RFIDs won't interfere with each other. If you want to put it on after you're done with your cycling course, before you hop onto the trail run, you are welcome to do so too. It is totally your preference at that point. The bib will just have to go on before you start the course itself. And again, if you are like, gosh, the trail run sounds so fun, I want to add that on after my ride, feel free to email us. We'll make sure you have a bib, or we can mock one update up for you as well too. So just let us know, and we can get you situated with that. All right, now I'm going to hand things back over to Lauren, and she's going to get into what the event will look like.
Awesome. All right, so we have checked in, we've started, we've got our credential on, and we are hitting the road and or the trail. So our gravel day route options are listed here. I'm sure most of you have selected the one that you think you're going to do. But I do just want to call out that there are split points. So for cycling routes specifically, there are split points for each of these routes. So even if you're registered for the 11, if you're feeling really good that morning and want to do the 25, you can do that. So just visit us at the check-in tent and we can update your credential to make sure you can get into the chute for the correct start time. But that's totally flexible since the fundraising commitments are the same for all the routes. There's no additional commitment, anything like that. If you want to change your distance day of, we would just ask that you come check in with us to make sure we get your credential updated and also get your information on the back end of the tracking system updated so we know where you are out there on the course. Samuel mentioned it, but the trail run hike is approximately 3.5 miles. Everybody's GPS, whether you use your phone or a watch or different programs, may be a little different, but right in that 3.5 mile range. The other thing to mention about the cycling routes, so we do have short sections of the Bailey's Trail System, which is incredible. If you have not been down and experienced the Bailey's Trail System, it is a very robust system of single track trails down in Athens County that is just continuously being developed. It's a really cool feature that they have down there. So we are fortunate enough to offer short extensions for all of our cycling routes, as well as, Samuel mentioned this as well, but part of the run hike course will take place on the Baileys as well. So there will be signage. This again is a kind of choose your own adventure day of the ride. You don't have to tell us in advance if you want to take this or not. They are a little shorter extensions this year than they have been in the past, just because we're using some of the trails we used to use for the run hike, and bikes and walkers, we don't want to mix. So you can follow signage day of. It'll say Bailey's extension turn off. You'll just follow those signs. If you choose to take this adventure, add this onto your ride. It really doesn't add any mileage. It kind of just replaces some mileage for all the routes. So always an option for all of our cyclists.
Hey, Lauren, this would be a good spot to mention too, just to thank the Outdoor Recreation Council and Jesse and Elle. The Bailey's team was really helpful in allowing our trail run hike course to actually come together. So not only do riders get that option to ride on Bailey's, but without the Bailey's people and Orca, the trail run probably wouldn't have worked the way it did. So we're super thankful for them.
Yes, great call out, Samuel. They have been incredible. Such an awesome supporter, not just of us, but of all outdoor recreation down in Athens County and the surrounding areas. We're very lucky to have them as a partner for sure. We're going to talk just a little bit specifically about ride, and then we'll transition to the trail run hike and just support that's out there and how the course will be marked. So I've mentioned a few times that we will have lots of rest stops for all 3 cycling routes. So located every 9 to 20 miles, and I will say 20 is the exception, and why that extra little note is there. So there is a 20-mile stretch on the 48-mile route between rest stops 1 and 2. We've added a hydration station, started that last year, that is really just a smaller rest stop setup. It doesn't have all of the options, but it has, water, electrolytes, a few snacks so that you can fuel up in that longer stretch between those 2 rest stops. All of those will be fully stocked with food, beverage, first aid, mechanical support, all of the things that you should need along the way. So rest assured that there will be plenty of support along the way for you. I've also mentioned we have lots of law enforcement support. We are very lucky to have an awesome relationship with Athens County Sheriff and a few of the other surrounding agencies. They'll have lots of people out there helping to keep you safe, help you make turns in a safe way, and make sure vehicular traffic is coexisting with us nicely. So they'll be out there. Please just be sure you're paying attention to the direction that they're giving along the way as well. And then course signage, we'll have plenty of it. We have a whole team that goes out on Thursday and Friday before the ride and make sure that the course is very clearly marked, so you don't miss a turn. You don't, end up someplace you don't expect to be. That'll all be out there. It's all bright green with white text, very Pelotonia branded. So hopefully hard to miss all of those signs out there. From a trail run hike perspective, so there's an image here of one of the many markings that you will see along the trail run hike. I know we mentioned earlier, just really important to stay on the marked course. It could be very easy to, just take a few steps off the trail and maybe lose your bearings because it all kind of looks the same out there. So be sure you're staying on the marked course. We will be using these flags. There will be barricade tape, so kind of a Pelotonia branded caution tape. If you're familiar, you've probably seen it at some of our other events. There will be signage out there on the trails. There will, important to call out, I'm sure if you take a few steps off the trail, it can be very confusing to remember which way you're supposed to be going. So the back of all of the kind of directional signage will say wrong way. So you'll know pretty quickly if you're going in the wrong direction. But just remember, stay on the course. Again, there will be that point halfway through that there is a rest stop. There will be a couple porta-johns that you will have to kind of get off the course a little bit and walk up to the road to use, but that'll all be there about midway through the course. Additional laps, we also mentioned you're welcome to do as many laps as you so choose between the 10 and 2:30 time frame. So feel free to, if you finish and you feel like doing another one right away, you can keep going. If you finish and you want to step out into the finish celebration and hang out for a little bit and get a second wind at 1 p.m., you can jump back on the course. Any of those things are perfectly fine. So just things to be aware of and kind of choose your own adventure that day. And then we also just want to mention, we've gotten a lot of questions and, just conversation around what is the trail run going to look like? What kind of terrain is it? And the answer is many things, as you can see from this slide. So these are photos that were taken last week when we walked the course. So you can see there's packed dirt. There's a kind of, Samuel mentioned earlier, like a sand-like quality to some of it. There's leaf-covered trail. There's grass. There's kind of a little bit of everything. So again, just being prepared for anything and everything. This is where some of those, trail run shoes and that kind of thing will come in handy to help you have good traction on all these different types of terrain. A little bit of everything. So I'm going to pause there and see if Samuel, you have anything else to add on this section before we carry on.
Sure. Thanks, Lauren. On the signage real quick, I just wanted to mention Lauren, you and I talked about the mile marker signage. So there will be, I believe it's every quarter mile. Is that correct?
Yep.
Every quarter mile of the trail running hiking course will be marked with signage in addition to the arrows, in addition to the utility flags or the little green flags on the ground, in addition to barricade tape. So it should be quite difficult to get lost. It is not our intention to make you do any sort of route finding out there or navigate or need a compass or anything like that. We do have porta-johns at that very close to that rest stop area, a little under 2 miles in, and at the start finish, of course. So the course will be very well marked. Please stay on the course and move in the direction of the course. It is a one-way loop. And for people doing multiple loops, it should be very easy to get what you need at start finish and start on that next loop. The terrain photos are great. I think that's a really good depiction of what you're going to see at Snow Fork on the Snow Fork Event Center property and then in Wayne National Forest and on Bailey's. The only sort of asterisk to this is the weather. And if we get a lot of rain leading up to this event, and weather will be mentioned in a upcoming slide here, a lot of that, especially that first image there, could turn into fairly muddy conditions. And so again, that's where having really good trail running shoes with good tread and good grip is important. And also keeping in mind, if there's a lot of rain prior or even potentially during the event, you might get wet feet. I know some runners who really hate getting their feet wet during the run. So I would just say if there's a lot of rain and the event is happening, during that rain, having wet feet may be a potential thing, and then having change of socks or something to change into is a good idea there. I think overall the course is just technical enough to be interesting, scanning the ground, sort of keeping your wits about you. But being out in that wilderness and enjoying it, I think, is going to be exciting for everybody. So I'll turn it back to you, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. So just a few more things that we will have out there, and this applies to both cycling courses as well as the trail run hike. We will have SAG support vehicles and personnel. So obviously the vehicles will be out on the cycling courses. We will not have vehicles on the single track trail, but we will have personnel out there to help along the way if anybody has any issues, needs assistance in getting back to the start finish, all those good things. Moto support will be specifically focused on our cycling routes. So they are an awesome group of volunteers who gets to go out and, be on their motorcycles that day and really helps with anything and everything along the way. So both of these groups, both our SAG vehicles, as well as our moto volunteers, are people that if you see them out and you need something, feel free to flag them down. They are always out there willing to help with anything and everything. And then last but not least, this number will be printed on those rider and runner hiker wristbands that you will be required to wear throughout the day. But our command center phone line will always be monitored for calls and texts. The numbers listed there, you can call and text about anything you may need. Again, whether it's medical, whether it's mechanical, whether it's just a general question, you can always send those things in. We did mention earlier that there are some spots where cell service can be tricky. So just rest assured that we also have alternate communication to all areas of the courses as well that are a little more reliable if needed for emergency situations. So keep that command center phone line handy. A lot of places you will be perfectly fine, especially to get a text through. But know that we have a lot of other resources and communication methods as well. And then last in this section, just a quick overview of weather. So Samuel mentioned it. We are obviously a rain or shine event, so we will keep riding and keep running if it's raining, but there are conditions obviously that we will pull people off the course. So green flag system. So the flag system is what we use throughout the weekend. We'll have these displayed on SAG vehicles, at rest stops, at the venue, just things to, notice and be aware of. If we're green flag, we're in great shape. We're going to keep going. No real concerns as far as weather is concerned. Yellow flag, we will put up if we think there is a little caution to be exercised. So if it's excessively hot, if it's heavy rain, strong winds, any of those kind of things that you should just be a little more careful, whether you're, riding or running or hiking, just exercise a little more caution. And a red flag is what we put up if we don't feel like it's safe to proceed. So most of the time this is used in a thunderstorm situation. If we have lightning approaching the route or approaching the venue, we will pull everyone from the course. And so if you see a red flag, it means we are sheltering, and we will communicate this with all riders, volunteers, via our emergency messaging system. And you'll also see, again, the visual of this on SAG vehicles, at rest stops, all those things. So that is kind of an overview of our weather policies. I'm going to throw it back to Carolyn here.
Awesome. And we're running really low on time, so I'm going to try to rush through these last 3 sections to give you a highlight of all the most important things, because it's a little less logistical and more just event experience for everybody. So the finish line celebration, I will say I love our ride weekend finish line celebrations. Gravel Day finish line celebration takes it to a whole nother level. It's just such a fun atmosphere. There's live music. There's really great food and beverage vendors that we partner with. If you are from, or if you went to OU, I should say, there's some nostalgic stops that come to Gravel Day and are part of our vendor experience that we're really excited about. There are showers. There are also bike wash showers or stations. I will say a little dust on the bikes last year, no real mud. So hopefully we can have a little bit more rain this year for that as well. We will also have merchandise for sale. And what's not listed on here, and I know everyone's thinking it, yes, we will have the Ohio State game on, assuming that is a noon game. It could be a night game, who knows, but we will have football playing on a big screen right next to the music, so you can watch both and enjoy both. We will have gift distribution. So if you took place, or if you participated in Ride Weekend, you already have your gift, so no logistics there that you need to worry about. But all other participants that maybe didn't join us for Ride Weekend will get their gift upon check-in in the morning. If you want to do it after your ride, you're welcome to do so too. There's a tag on your credential. You can just let them know, hey, I want to hold off until I'm done. They can help you with that too. But most people can grab it in the morning. We also have a special gift for people that are doing the trail run hike that are survivors or high rollers. And then if you, for some reason, didn't participate in Ride Weekend, just let them, or if you were registered for Ride Weekend but didn't get your gift there, I should say, just let them know at check-in. They'll make sure that you get your gift in or jersey if you're a high roller or survivor. And then gas, I mentioned this, we would love to have your guests down there. The parking and arrival is the same as it is for riders and trail run hike participants. So I did note already, please make sure they're really cautious coming into the venue, as riders will be finishing the same location. There will be a ton of signage to help them find it. And they can come with you in the morning and hang out while you ride or do your trail run hike, and kind of just hang out at the finish line and wait for you. Or if they want to come separately, that is totally fine as well. Again, no wristbands or tickets are needed. And Then speaking of your loved ones, we'll jump into spectator information from there. Very similar to Ride Weekend, from a spectator do's and don'ts. So really, the biggest thing is do not allow your loved ones to come to any of the rest stops. Especially gravel day, a lot of them tend to be kind of on the side of the road. So we want to limit car traffic as much as possible. They are invited to come celebrate with us. And we do ask that they review those routes before coming down, and really specifically review the parking instructions, so they make sure that they can easily come in and, again, avoid any kind of cyclist. Again, we don't encourage them to try to meet you out on the route. Again, just limiting as much vehicle traffic as possible. Do download the Pelotonia tracker, which we'll talk about here in a second, and then do check out the spectator page, because there's a lot of really great information, and again, just really great maps as well. And then to the Pelotonia tracker. So this is going to be, I think it used to say Pelotonia ride tracker. We had to get rid of that, obviously. So the tracker will track both cyclists as well as trail run hike participants. If you are doing both events, you'll be tracked for both events as well. So for riders, it will provide them an update when they start the ride and whenever they leave a rest stop, as well as 2 miles out from the finish line. For the runners and hikers, this will provide an update whenever they start a new lap, leave a rest stop, or have finished a lap as well. It's the same app as it was for Ride Weekend. So if you already have it downloaded, it will automatically update for you. And you'll go ahead and hit that little tracker button in the middle part and type in the name. Don't worry if you go in right now and you don't see your name, everything will be added before you start your ride or before you start your first lap during the trail run hike on Saturday the 4th. All right, and then some pro additional tips. I'll really speed through this, and again, we'll share this out, so it's really great information, but really, these are tips to enjoy the experience and to help with your fundraising efforts as well. So make sure you share your experience. There's going to be a ton of great opportunities to share your story, share your experience, share why it's meaningful to you to participate. Definitely encourage you to connect with fellow riders and trail run hike participants, learn their stories. We have heard of so many people making really great lasting friendships just by participating in Pelotonia and meeting people out there. And it's probably been said a few times, remember to take your time. It is not a race. Neither events are a race. We are really, truly out here to raise funds for cancer research in really unique and fun ways. So don't feel like you have to be the first one in. Don't feel like you have to be competitive and do 5 laps because your friend did. If you are done at 2 or 1, that is great. Come enjoy the finish line with us. So not competitive at all. Enjoy your time and really enjoy the experience. And then just some fundraising best practices. These are just some examples of where we encourage you to share posts, especially while you're out on the course. We encourage you to limit your time on your phone, especially if you're riding your bike. If you're running, walking, it's a little bit easier to multitask, but as we've mentioned, there's a lot of things on the course that you might run into. So it's best to keep your eyes on the course, not your phone. So these are some just different areas that we recommend sharing your experience and some prompts to get you thinking about what you can talk about with your donors, whether it's via text message or via social media, and really share these out. And again, I'm really speeding through this because I want to make sure we have time for questions, but we'll share this out so you guys can have this as a resource to think about what you want to share while you're out there for your fundraising perspective. And then last and certainly not least, some additional resources, safety and training specific to both cyclists and the trail run hike participants. There's some really great resources in there. There are perks as well. The one perks that is not listed in there, which was emailed to all trail run hike participants, is our friends at Fleet Feet provided a $20 off any purchase of $100 or more. So if you are looking for an excuse to get a new pair of shoes, this is a great chance. And we can share that again before the event as well. And just some additional resources to help everybody get ready for Gravel Day, especially I'll call out the Friday night community gathering as that is due on Friday. So with that, we'll go through Q&A. I know there was a handful of questions in the chat already, so let us just jump in there. The newest. Do any of the campsites have trees for hammocks?
That is a great question. Likely yes, but I would say it will just depend on so it's a very casual setup. So we don't assign specific campsites to specific people. It's kind of just as you come, you enter that area and kind of choose where you'd like to set your tent up. So I would say we can't guarantee. It is a pretty wooded area, but we can't guarantee that would be available on your site, depending on when you show up.
Yeah. And then if we're camping for a night, is there bike storage in the staging area?
There is not. So it is the bike rack area, bike storage area is pretty removed from the camping area. So last year, most people just left their bikes either racked on their car or in their car overnight and then unloaded them in the morning.
And then a question about number of riders for each route. I will say I think there's about 275 riders, and it is pretty evenly split between the three. I think it's about dead spot on, like a third of the riders are assigned for every single route. And again, people do change day of, so we might see that fluctuate between the routes too, given that the commitment's the same. You can easily increase or decrease depending on how you're feeling.
We're going to scoot right by that go blue comment in here. Are we able to use walking and hiking sticks? I would say absolutely. I don't know if Samuel, you have any additional context to add to that, but yes, that is more than welcome.
Absolutely. And for some of the steeper uphills and downhill sections, it would totally be helpful. The only thing I'll mention is at the start, when we're all when the runners and hikers are bunched together, you could either keep the poles collapsed if they fold down or collapse a little bit, or just be really mindful of using them when you're around other people so you don't hit somebody with a pole, or just be mindful of the people that are around you, as you would with any sort of event like this. But yeah, absolutely. If you feel like that would be helpful on the terrain, especially if it ends up being a little bit muddier, it could be very helpful to just add some traction, or help kind of save your knees a little bit on the downhill, something like that.
Perfect. And then there's a few questions in the Q&A section as well. Yes, we will send this deck out following our conversation today, as well as the recording. Is there anywhere convenient for lactation needs? I'm so glad you asked this question, because we have added a lactation area for gravel day this year. This is the first year we'll have that. It'll just be a small tent with sidewalls, kind of a private area, a little removed from everything, but that will be available on site. So yes, thank you for asking that question, Lindsay. And what is the estimated hiking duration? So I would say this could be any variety. I will say we walked it at a pretty leisurely pace last week, and it took us about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes. Again, Samuel, I don't know if you have anything to add there, but
yeah, I'm glad someone asked that question, actually, because I was thinking about mentioning that. I didn't want to come across as arrogant in my running time. I really truly consider myself an average runner. I have run a lot. Thank you, Lauren. But I ran the course at a fairly good clip after we all hiked it that day. So our hiking time was about an hour and a half. I think that's a great estimate. My running time was just under 40 minutes. So that kind of gives you a range of running it and really trying to push it. You're looking 30 to 40 minutes. Hiking is going to be around 90 minutes or so. So more than double, really. But it really is going to vary depending on the weather, your fitness that day, how you're feeling, if you just came off the ride. So there's always asterisks when people say how long does it take, because it's really going to be dependent on a lot of factors. And some of these uphills and downhills are probably going to be new for some people, and you're going to have to take your time and just be careful. Just enjoy the wilderness.
awesome.
And one thing I forgot to mention too, from a resource perspective, is next week, everybody will receive a very specific email that contains all of this information, but also information specific to what they're registered for. So 48-mile riders will receive an email. If you're doing the 48 miles plus a trail run, you'll receive a separate email with very specific information. Detailing your start time, how to transition from the cycling course to the trail run course. Really every information you will need will be contained in that email. So stay on the lookout. That will be coming next week. That will also include a link to the tracking app. You can search it as well. If you are a Apple user or a Android user, you can search it in your app store, just Peloton your tracker, and that should show up for you. There's not a specific link per se, just given that you have to search it in the app store of your mobile device. So if you have any issues finding it, email our team, but that should hopefully pop up for you pretty quickly. Not too many things are called Peloton, or maybe a Peloton app will show up, but that's not us. So
Yeah.
I'll mention real quick too, any question, if there's people who have concerns about the course, getting lost, or they sort of want a little bit more guidance ahead of time, you can download the GPX file. So we have the final really accurate 3.5 mile GPX file on the website. You can load that into your smartwatch, Garmin, Coros. You can load it into Apple app or on Android, Gaia GPS, whatever system you use, the GPX file should be compatible with. And that will give you a really very detailed route that you can follow on your device, or it can give you little buzzes on your wrist when you're turning, things like that. If you choose not to do that, again, we promise the course is going to be really well marked and you won't get lost.
Well, thank you again, Samuel, for joining us. Thank you all for joining us. We will send this out in an email later today with the presentation linked as well. But if you have any questions outside of that, feel free to shoot our team a note, and we look forward to celebrating with you guys in just a couple of weeks.
Thanks for joining us today, guys. Thanks for having me, Carolyn and Lauren. Appreciate it.
Thank you.